you're standing, give it up for Jesus. Can you do that for me? He is wonderful. He is amazing. Go ahead, have a seat. I'm excited. Florida, it's good to see you. RPC online. Well, you know, tonight I'm getting ready to go into a subject, and I don't want it to condemn you. But the Holy Spirit will convict you. If you smile, no one knows it's you. But it's a subject that it is the foundation of who we are in Christianity. It's the foundation of who we are, right? So let me get into this tonight. Have you ever gossiped about somebody? I told you it was going to convict you, not condemn you. You ever gossip about something? You ever had something, let me change it. Have you ever had something wonderful happen to you, and then you had to go and tell somebody else about what happened? Right? Like if you won the lottery tomorrow, well, that's a bad thing because some of your family members are a little crazy. You don't want to tell nobody. But if something wonderful happened to you, you get engaged, maybe you're pregnant, you tell somebody what happened, right? You heard something or something happened to you and you had to go and tell somebody about it, right? Tonight, I want to talk to you here, Florida Online, on evangelism. It's a foundation of who we are. Because something wonderful has happened to us, and then we've been instructed to go tell about it. So you be sitting there and say, oh, man, that's not my job. That's your job. You're the pastor. I'm so glad you asked that question. So glad. Evangelism, the definition, the spreading of the Christian gospel by public preaching or personal witness. Public preaching or personal witness. Okay? A zealous advocacy of a cause. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to set this up. We're going to go to John 4. But let me set this up for a second. This is Jesus and the woman at the well. It's very similar to something like this. Jesus is passing through Samaria at the time. It's a very crazy time, just to set it up, because Samaritans and Jews don't get along. In fact, they would walk all the way around Samaria just so they didn't have to walk through it. But Jesus comes along. And Jesus says, we're going to change the game up. We're going to go through it. Even his disciples are like, eh. And then Jesus is like, hey, go find something to eat. This is all my version, all right? Read it. I'm just setting something up for you, okay? So Jesus says, hey, go find something to eat. I'm going to chill here at the well, okay? A woman comes along, a Samaritan woman. And Jesus looks at her. You can read it in chapter 4. And he says, hey, give me a drink. And basically, she's like, why are you talking to me? You're a Jew, I'm a Samaritan, we don't talk. And then Jesus is like, hey, I can give you water that's living water, you never have to come. She's like, look, dude, you don't even have a cup, right? What are you drawing from? And he said, listen, I can give you water that you would never thirst again. And she's like, now this sounds like a nice plan. I don't have to come back to this well anymore, like everything's good. And then Jesus is like, hey, totally cool. Because Jesus never leaves things hidden. He likes to bring it out in our lives, not to shame us, but he's merely bringing it out so that it doesn't shame us. You understand what I'm saying? So Jesus looks at her and says, hey, cool, go get your husband. She's like, hey, about that, I don't have a husband. And Jesus is like, right, and the last 5 weren't, and the dude you're living with ain't your husband either. Don't get mad at me. Jesus is the one that did it. Some of you yell at people and then think Jesus didn't see it. Right? Now she's very smart. She looks at Jesus, get this, Florida. She looks at Jesus and she says, hey, I think you're a prophet. Right? That's where we're going to pick up at. John chapter 4, verse 28. It says, so the woman left her water jar and went away into a town and said to the people, I love this, come see a man who told me all I ever did. That's what she said. That's it. Then she said, can this be the Christ? That's it. She said, come. This guy told me everything I did. Could he be the Christ? Verse 30. They went out of the town and were coming to him. Here's the thing is, was she a pastor? No. Did Jesus go get the people? No. Some of you guys look at me like, this is a trick question. Did he? This is interesting. Did she have a mistake-free past? No. So why'd they come? They came because the woman had an encounter with Jesus, and it changed her so much that she was so passionate when she got to the town. Listen to me. Listen, she had such an encounter with him. She had such a passionate moment with him that do you think she went to the town and said, hey, I ran into this dude. He just told me everything I ever did. He could be the Christ. Do you think the town was like, that sounds good? Yeah. You ever think somebody in the town's like, they told you everything you did? This has to be the Christ. You know what I'm saying? Some of us got a little bit more things to tell, that's all. But she went to the town and she said, hey, listen, I just met this dude at the well. And I'm telling you, he just told me everything. You got to come with me. You got to come with me. This could be the Christ. Because that inspired them so much that they got up and started heading towards Jesus. Why am I telling you that? Because the passion by which you share Jesus. Listen, people are wondering, well, what do you do? There's fear in the world. What's the answer? Jesus. Well, they've got lack in their life. What's the answer? Jesus. Well, they're having marriage problems. What's the answer? Jesus. Well, they're having relationship problems. What's the answer? Jesus. Jesus is the answer for the problems that you're having. He's the answer. We have the answer. The church has the answer. When she went there, she was so passionate about it that it moved the people. Now, my youngest son, Preston, is sitting with me. He's hanging with me. And when Preston was in third grade, I think it was about third grade, they were in Preston's class, and he was in school. And they started talking about creation. And a little girl got up, and she said, the world was created when two rocks hit together, and there was a big bang. So she said, my son stood up in the class and said, you're wrong. And walked through all 7 days of creation. Now listen to me. He was so passionate about it, the teacher emailed us and said, I just sat back and smiled because as a Christian in school, I'm not allowed to say that. But him, third grade, he stood up with passion to say, let me tell you about how this started. He was passionate about Jesus. So you can say, oh, Pastor Phil, we heard about your testimony. Pastor David said about the testimony and your kids and everything, how that happened, and they're going to school and this and that, because we're passionate about Jesus. When I go to a restaurant, I always ask what the server's name is. My family knows immediately, that's when I ask, what's the server's name? They said, Dad, why do you always ask what their name is? I said, because the closest thing to somebody is their name. So I'm going to ask them because I'm gearing up to invite them. I went to a restaurant not too long ago. Me and my wife, we took a couple there, and we were in the restaurant. And this waitress, she was amazing. And I said, oh my gosh, you are fantastic. I said, you would make a wonderful greeter at my church. And she said, you people are the sweetest people. I said, it's mostly me. She said, what church you go to? I said, oh, Faith Church. And she said, that's the one right down the road. I said, yeah. She said, are your pastors David and Nicole? I said, they are. She said, you know what? They were in here trying to get me to come to church too. I said, but did they ask you to be a greeter? You say, well, why are you like that, Pastor Phil? Because we're passionate. Because here's the deal. There are people, and I know sometimes it's hard for us to grasp and put it in our minds, but there are people that are dying and going to hell. It's true. All the time. There's people that are ending their lives because they don't have hope. But we have hope. And that hope is Jesus. And it's our responsibility. Jesus, let me tell you something. Jesus, God in the flesh on this earth, okay, has impacted more people not here than when he actually walked the earth. Let that sink in for a second. He had to be so passionate preaching it that 12 guys would later on and say, hey, he went up, we'll take it from here. It was passion that drove him. We've got to be passionate about sharing our faith. We got to be passionate about sharing Jesus. We got to be passionate about inviting people to church. Well, Pastor Phil, if I invite them to church, sometimes I don't know what to say. Listen, I'm not asking you to speak Christianese. Don't do that. Don't walk up to people and be like, hey, do you want to be covered in the blood? You hear me, Florida Online, right? Would you like a circumcision of the heart? Don't do stuff like that. If you do, don't invite them here. Don't do stuff like that. Jesus isn't weird. So don't be weird. Don't speak Christian. You don't have to speak King James Version in order to get people to come to church. If you are one way and you walk into your job and say, hath you not had a good day? Would you liketh to attendeth my church with me later on? Dude, you just cussed out a customer 5 hours ago. Be normal, right? Don't speak Christianese to people because people don't understand it. You know what they understand? Here's what I realized. I got a basketball connect group. It's on Thursday nights. And got great guys that are in my connect group. Wonderful guys. I see a couple of them that are here right now. They're just fantastic guys. And, when I'm in a group, sometimes I have to catch myself because I'm a very competitive person. Very competitive person. And I compete at everything. Speeding tickets, I win, guaranteed. But I'm competitive, right? When we get to be playing basketball, between those lines, sometimes I forget Jesus. Am I lying, John? John's sitting there, Sergeant's like, yeah, it's pretty close. But I get competitive, right? And I want to win. And then sometimes I got good people around me. It's like, hey, you're the pastor. And I'm like, dang it, I am. But we're winning. So I get competitive, right? But I don't change who I tell them up front. Listen, as soon as that game's over, we're going to walk outside. We're going to start talking. And we get to know each other in our group. And then people ask me for prayer and they'll do everything else. I don't change who I am. I'm going to invite you to church on Sunday. There's a lot of guys in my group that don't go to the church yet, but I keep asking them every week to come to the church. But I'm not weird about it. I'm not going to be weird about it. I'm going to say, hey, remember how I completely juked you and made you look stupid? Well, Christ will redeem you from that look. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, but I'm really not. Proverbs 11:30. Listen up, Florida. Proverbs 11:30 says, the fruit of the consistently righteous is a tree of life. And he who is wise captures and wins souls for God. He gathers them for eternity. Think about that for a minute. To be wise in God's eyes. He said, win souls. That's what he said. I didn't say it. That's what he said. So everybody wants wisdom. God, I want wisdom in my finances. God, I want wisdom in my relationships. God, I want wisdom in business. God, I want wisdom in this. And God, I want wisdom in that. And God said, cool, win souls. See, it's so weird because we'll start clapping a little, but we would rather God just hurry up and bless us. And then we'll say, okay, well, I'll win people once I've been blessed. And God's saying, no. I want you to win souls. You want wisdom? You want to succeed in business? You want your business to go to another level? You want all these things in life? You want to know what the purpose of your life is? You want to know the steps you're supposed to do? He said, win souls. People are the closest thing to God's heart. It's the closest thing to God's heart. He was winning souls all the way to the end. Jesus is on a cross. Hanging on a cross. The difference between me and Jesus is because I would have never made it to the cross. Because you'd have hit me one time and I'd been like, everybody's going to hell. Boom. Some of you guys act totally like, I don't know about that. You get a paper cut and you're like, They beat him. They whipped him. They put him on a cross. And while he's dying on a cross, one of the guys that are next to him says, hey, why don't you call down angels, get out of here. Who are you anyway? And the other guy says, hey, wait a second. We deserve this. He doesn't. And even while dying on a cross, Jesus cared so much about people that while dying on a cross, he looks at him and says, today you'll be with me in paradise. His focus wasn't about himself. His focus wasn't about what he looked like. His focus was people, souls. I'm trying to win them, get people, invite people, win people for Jesus. So what people are asking me, they'll ask me, what's next? I just don't know what's next for me, for Pastor Phil. Win souls. Get people to Christ. Share your faith. Be passionate about it when you share your faith. Invite them to church. Well, I don't know what to say. Nobody asked us to know what to say. Sometimes people just need to walk in the door and feel the anointing of God. You ever had a worship service where you didn't even say anything, but you walked out like you were full? You've been here on a Tuesday night or maybe in Florida on a Tuesday night and Pastor David's up here and the Spirit of God starts moving like crazy. He doesn't even preach. And you walk out of here like, whew, I can take on the world. Well, let me ask you a question. Do we need to keep that to ourselves? Or do we share our faith? We got to tell people about Jesus. We got to invite people to church. Why? Not so we can say, we got a big church. No, because I don't want to get to heaven. And then I see the people that I walked past that I thought, I don't want to look stupid in front of them. We've all been there. Every single one of us has. You've been there. You want to share your faith. You write about that moment to share your faith, but you're like, I don't want to say anything stupid. I messed this whole thing up. But can I show you something that set me free? TJ, come here. TJ's wonderful. Come up here, TJ. Two people think you're great, TJ. This will set you free. You ready? TJ, ask me to come to church.
Will you come to church?
No. Thanks, TJ. That just sets you free. Right there. No. That's it. If they say no, that's it. That's all that happens. That's the only thing that happens when someone says no. But you ask enough. You keep asking. And you ask enough. They'll say yes. When all hell breaks loose, they'll say yes. I've got friends that I work on all the time. All the time. That I'm working on them. Why? Because I just need them to say yes. So I keep asking, and I keep asking, and I keep asking. Now you can say, well, Pastor Phil, what does that benefit me? Here's what I've realized, is that when I start sharing my faith with people, and you can testify to this here and in Florida Online, when I start sharing my faith with people, I start remembering all the good things that God has done in my life. So when I tell them that God delivered me out of being a drug addict, when I tell them about the time that God came through for this, when I tell them about the time that God came through for that, when I tell them about the time that God came through for that, faith begins to build on the inside of me. And as my faith begins to build, when something happens, it doesn't shake me. Because if he did it once, he's going to do it again. So you got to share your faith. Keep sharing your faith. Matthew 5, verse 14. This is Jesus talking, not me, so don't get mad at me. This is what Jesus said. He said, you, talking to us, you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works, even on social media. You like, do I need to share my faith on social media? What if on your social media, maybe you got, let's say you're an influencer, all right? And we'll say you got 50 friends. Okay, so changing the world. Okay. Better yet, let's just say you have 100 for the sake of this example. Okay? If one of your friends sees something that you post, one, and their life changes, and they come to know Christ on a deeper level, and they come to Jesus, was the one worth it? 100%. If Jesus left the 99 for the one, why wouldn't we? So on our social media, do we share our faith? Absolutely. I don't change who I am. You're going to see it on my social media. You're going to see my wife, my kids, my church. That's what you're going to see all the time. I don't change it for anything. Some people may hide me. I'm tired of you. You're always so positive on social media. You're always... I'm sorry if I don't post stuff like, been a rough day, can't believe that happened. And you just waiting for people in the comments to say, what happened? And then you post in the comments, I don't want to talk about it. Then why'd you post it? Sorry. It's pet peeve. Don't you hate that though? It's like, it's been such a hard night. Don't ask me about it. And people come up to me sometime and they'll be like, hey, I need you to pray for me. What are we praying for? Just, I don't want to talk about it. Well, I don't know what I'm mixing my faith with. I mean, what are you believing God for? Are you believing God for a pound of wheat? Because I'm not mixing my faith with that. That made me laugh. No, I gotta hurry. Okay. Whew. Hey, get off this subject. Some of you are like, you can't believe God for that? No. Let me tell you something. People will see you before they see God, and they're going to read you before they read the Bible. They will. God doesn't want us hiding what he's done for us. Romans 1, verse 16 says, for I'm not ashamed of the gospel, for it's the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes. I'm not ashamed of Jesus at all. He said, if you deny me before men, I'll deny you before the Father. I'm not ashamed of what God's done. I will invite anybody. I'll bring anybody to church. I don't care. I'll share Jesus with everybody. We've got to evangelize. You got to share what's happened to you. Listen to what this woman did. She shared what happened to her, and then they came out, right? How important is it for us to evangelize? It must be pretty important. Jesus was dying on a cross. He actually said the Great Commission, go and make disciples. That's what Jesus said. Right before he leaves in Acts 1, he says, you're going to be my witnesses. Well, if you're a witness, you have to tell what you saw. So you've got to tell about it. Winning souls, listen, pride comes before a fall, but winning souls will keep you humble. It'll keep you humble. Because like I said, people will tell you no. No. And you're like, what? That was my best sales pitch. Yeah. I talk to people about coming to church and winning people to Jesus. And you're right on the cusp. You're like, there is no way. I'm basically ushering these people into the presence of God. I've got them right in the palm of my hand. And they look right at me and they'll be like, no. I'm like, did you not feel what I was feeling? Let me try this one more time. So Christ came. No, I'm just kidding. But it'll keep you humble. Let me wrap this up. Call to action is to bring people. John 4, verse 39. I love this. It says, many Samaritans from that town believed in him. Look at this part. Because of the, hold on, come on. Don't lose it. Many Samaritans from that town believed in him because of what he preached, what he said, his words. Nope. Many of them believed in him because of the woman's testimony. God's called you to specific people. Whoever you're around, your family, your friends, the people around, there's no happen chance with God. Well, I just happened to be in this moment. I just happened to be here. I had a friend of mine who was on the phone with me today, and his son wanted to play football, but then after the whole pandemic and all this stuff in college, and he went through the whole thing, he was talking to me about it, and he ended up going to college for track, and he was at track, but he really wanted to play football, and he was in the weight room lifting for track, and he said on the phone with me today, he said, the coach of the college just happened to be walking through. Never goes that way. And looks at him and says, have you ever thought about playing football? And the kid said, that's what I want to do. And he said, man, you're on the football team. You got to come be on the football team. So here's my point. There's no happen chance with God. Well, I just happened to be there. I just happened to be at that restaurant. No, God has ordered and ordained and put you in the spot that he needs us. Why? Because you never know what people will need. He's placed you in that spot. He's put you in that spot. Why? To bear witness for him. To evangelize, to tell people, to let people know about Jesus. It says many people believed of the woman's testimony. So when the Samaritans came to him, they asked him to stay with them, and he stayed there 2 days. Verse 41, it says, and many more believed because of his word. I love verse 42. They said to the woman, it is no longer because of what you said that we believe. We've heard it for ourselves, and we know that he's the Savior of the world. It's no longer what you said that makes us believe. We've heard it. See, our job is to go out and get people and bring them into the church. It's not our job to clean them up. It's not your job. It's not my job to tell them how terrible they are. Most people already know. Before I got saved, I already knew I was bad. You didn't have to tell me I was bad. I already knew that. So it's not our job to go clean them up. It's our job to share Jesus with them, invite them and bring them into church. Let them get a community around them that starts to build them up and build them up and build them up. Let me ask you a question here online and in Florida. How many people that are sitting in these two buildings and online, wherever you're at right now, and you tell me that this church has changed your life in some way? This church has done something and changed your life in some way. You've met somebody, you've done something different. So everybody's raising their hands. So if he did it for you, don't you think he wants to do it for somebody else? Jesus is not going to come down here the next time he comes back. Won't be like the first. I'm always looking. I looked out the window the other day and the clouds parted and the sun was coming through and I was like, oh, snaps now? Let me get all this right. Jot out of this, thank you. Is that a trumpet? That ain't no trumpet. Somebody's busting rap right now. Dang it. Somebody subs. I'm always looking. And this isn't to condemn you, but it is when we walk out of this place. It is for us to go share our faith and invite people to church. It is the time. Most people will come to church when you invite them. I was joking earlier about people saying no. They have said no. But most people will come to church when you invite them, right? If you're nice. If you're mean to the waitress and then invite her to church, she's probably not coming. He's probably not going to be here. You're like, this food sucks, the water sucks, you took forever, you're slow, this place is a wreck. By the way, come to church on Sunday morning. Maybe you got to clean this place up. You never know. It's not going to happen. Here's what I want you to do. Here in Florida, even online. Here's what I want you to do. Will you do something for me? Pull out your phones. Some of you were on them anyway, so this will be easy for you. You don't think that we can see you from stage, but we can. I want you to think of 3 people right now. 3 people. 3 people. You know 3 people. 3 people in your phones here and in Florida. Do it right now. Gabe's watching you like a hawk. All right? I want you to text 3 people right now and invite them to church. I'm going to give you what to say. You ready for this? This is going to change your life. You ready? Do you want to come to church this Sunday? I know what you're thinking. Wow, revelation. That's powerful. Just text them really quick. Do you want to come to church this Sunday? 3 people. I'm going to give you just a second. I'll give you a little bit longer because some of you look like you're struggling trying to text. 3 people. You're just texting 3 people and ask them to come to church with you on Sunday. That's it. 3 simple people. And tonight, when you walk out of here, they've got invites that, again, they look just like this, here and in Florida. And it says, you are invited to church. That's all it says. And I want you to take at least 5 of them. And I want you to hand them to somebody. Just hand them to them. Just say, hey, I want to give this to you. Hey, I was thinking about you. I want to hand this to you. Maybe you go out to eat after this, and you go through a drive-thru. Maybe, praise God, you go to Chick-fil-A. Well, they're already saved at Chick-fil-A, but that's Jesus chicken, folks. It's closed on Sunday, so. But wherever you go, I want you to do an exchange. Will you do this for me? I just want you to do an exchange. You get your food, you hand them this and say, hey, I just want to hand that to you. Love to see you at church on Sunday. Now, again, smile, okay? Like, hey, don't be like, it's about time, take this. Don't do that. Here's why. It is so vitally important for us to share Jesus and invite people to church. Because people really are dying and going to hell. It really is. There will come a time where we're all going to be in heaven, hopefully. All right? And we're all in heaven. And we're all going to be sitting around a throne. You can read about it in Revelation. We're all going to be sitting around a throne. And you're going to have all the saints that have been there. And you're gonna be looking around and we're gonna be rejoicing with them. What I don't wanna do is get to heaven. And I'd hate to stand before God and him say, look at the people that you got nervous to share. You wouldn't invite them to church. You got nervous to share your faith with. Look at all these people. I want to get there and say, man, I did everything I possibly could. I invited everybody I possibly can. I'm not worried about my reputation. My reputation means absolutely nothing to me. I don't care what people think. I really don't. I get DMs all the time like, oh, Pastor Phil, you said this. Oh, Pastor Phil, don't talk about weed. Blah, 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 blah. Why would you say circumcision of the heart? Yada, yada, yada. I don't care. I am who I am, all right? I'm unapologetically who I am. So just hand those out. So every head bowed and every eye closed, here and in Florida and online. If you're in this room, now be honest with me, if you're in this room right now and you say, you know what, Pastor Phil, this did not condemn me, but it did convict my heart. I've got to invite people to church. I'm gonna invite people to church. I want you to only put up your hands if this is what you're gonna do. You say, I'm gonna invite everybody that I possibly can to church this week. I'm gonna invite everybody. I don't care. I'm just gonna invite them. I don't care what they say. If that's you, just put up your hand right now. If you say, hey, I'm just gonna invite people to church. I don't care. I'll post about it. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll just invite people to church. I'm telling you, God will move on your behalf when you move on his. Father, I thank you for every person that's here and in Royal Palm and online. God, I ask that you lead us to the people that we need to invite, that you lead us to those people that we need to share our faith with. We need to share about Jesus. And God, we know that if we do what's on your heart by inviting people and you'll take care of us, you'll watch over us, you'll supply all of our needs if we look to you first. We thank you for it in Jesus' mighty name. Amen and amen. Was that all right for you tonight?